In today's video, we're talking about the new Object Select tool and the Remove Background feature in Photoshop 2020. Coming up. Hey everybody, this is Charles Cabrera, helping you get started with photography, Photoshop, and Lightroom. If you like short and easy tutorials, please consider subscribing and hit that bell notification so you don't miss anything. By the way, this is part of a series on Photoshop selection techniques. I'll leave a link up in the card and a link in the description to the playlist. Let's get started. So the object selection tool is really most useful when you have an object or a single object that you want to cut out in an image that has multiple objects in it. So I'll go through some examples here. You could use it to cut out like a piece of clothing, people from an image, pets, furniture. So let's work with this image here. The object selection tool is up here on the toolbar. It's in the same menu as the quick selection tool and the magic wand. If you don't see the object selection tool right away, just come up here to where you see the quick selection tool and right click and you'll see the object selection tool. At the top we have sample all layers if we're working with more than one layer and we want to consider the layer below. Auto enhance, that kind of reduces the roughness and blockiness in the selection boundary. And also check the object subtract and automatically subtracts an object inside a defined region. So we have a couple of choices here, two choices actually, mode, rectangle, or lasso. So we can use either one of those tools to make a selection. In this case, I'm going to select the pants here and I'm going to use a rectangle. I'm going to draw and let Photoshop select the pants as it did just by itself. So we selected them, drawing the rectangle. I could have, I'm going to say Command D and deselect that, and I'm going to use the lasso so I can draw around the pants and it will select it that way. So it just depends on what's easier for you. A lot of times just selecting using a rectangle is the most direct way to do it. Now that we have a selection made, say we want to change the color of the pants. So I'm going to click on new layer. I'm going to create a group by itself, Command G, and I'm going to copy the layer mask to that group, holding down Alt or Option and copying up to the group, and I'm going to delete the layer mask on the layer below. So now that I have a group with the layer mask on the group, inside that group I'm going to add a levels adjustment to that group, and I'm going to add a solid color adjustment layer to that group also. And I'm going to use the solid color adjustment layer with the blend mode of color to control the hue and saturation, and I'm going to use the levels adjustment layer to control the brightness. So now if I want to change the color of the pants, let me select a color in the top. A lighter color. And then I can use the levels adjustment layer to make the colors how I want them in order for them to blend in or have the maintain the texture and everything. So there you go. Changed it to a color that looks more matching. That's an example of what you can do with clothing with the Object Select tool. So the Object Select tool is an automatic tool. Basically, what I mean by that is it's one click and automatically does a selection similar to what you can do with the Select Subject tool. So if I come up here to just click on Quick Selection tool, the Select Subject button up here appears. If I click on that, what it did is it selected the whole image. So there is an additional feature in Photoshop 2020 that I wanted to show you, and it is another automatic tool. So if I'm on a layer and I come up here to Info and click on the properties, there is something new called Remove Background. If I click on Remove Background, it basically removed the background with one click. Now, there's a little bit more work that needs to be done. Right here you can see in the middle, some of this area didn't get selected, but I can use a tool like the Quick Selection tool and select that area, and with the foreground color black, click Option Delete, and that filled that with black, and that's all I had to do. But that's just an example of Remove Background, another automatic tool that we have that I was going to explain to you. So here's another example. In this one, we're going to work with this chair. We're going to select out the chair and add another chair to this scene. So far, we've been working with the Object Selection tool, and we've gotten to it through the menu on the left here. But we're going to get to an example where we're going to actually use it and use it through the Select and Mask tool. So let's choose rectangle. So I'm going to draw a rectangle here. And you can see that it didn't get all this leg, but what you can do is hold the shift down and draw another rectangle right around that area. And there you go. Photoshop has completed the selection of the chair leg. And if I wanted to remove any portion of a selection, I could just press Alt or Option and draw another rectangle and remove part of the selection. So now if I come down here to the Add Layer, New Layer Mask, there is my chair. I'm going to make a copy of this layer, and on that one layer I'm going to delete the layer mask, and on this layer that I just cut out the chair, I'm going to do a Command T to bring up the transform, right click, and flip horizontal. Press the check mark and enable the layer below, and here's the chair over here. So if I wanted, I could move this chair anywhere in the photo that I wanted. Now, this was just a rough cutout, and so it just gives you an idea of what you could do with the furniture. I didn't actually account for the shadows or anything like in a real composite, but it just gives you an idea of what you can do with furniture, and again, the Object Selection tool. Now, so far we've seen that with the Object Selection tool, sometimes you can get a pretty good selection, and that's going to vary depending on what your subject is, but let's try something a little bit more challenging. So in the case where you're trying to select out subjects, and it's like this, a group photo, we're going to actually use the Select and Mask tool to work on this right away. So once we click over here in the menu to one of the selection tools, you'll see that the Select and Mask button is available. So we're going to go right into Select and Mask, and now we have the Object Selection tool in the Select and Mask tool interface also. I'm going to draw a rectangle over one subject. And as you can see, Photoshop did a pretty good job of that selection. Now we can use any of the tools in here, and I'm just going to use the Refine Edge tool and go over just the area around the hair. I'm not trying to make this a perfect cutout. It takes some time to cut out hair, and we're just going to do a quick job here. So I might add that this is great, this tool. It may require some work here and there, but it's good to, like, if you want to try out, like in this case where we're cutting out a subject, and if I want to put her on a different background, then I can try the different backgrounds and see how the subject would fit in the image. So here we go. Let's create a new layer with new layer mask. Say OK. And there we have our subject cut out. And I'm going to make this background layer another layer. And I think I will make this a little bit more challenging. I am going to cut out another subject that is right in the middle of everything. So back into Select and Mask, back to the Object Selection tool, and I'm going to draw my rectangle right in the middle of this subject right here. And let's see what Photoshop does. Pretty good. And again, I'm going to output this to a new layer with layer mask and say OK. And so they both are cut out. So I'm going to bring in a background layer just as a test. As I mentioned, this is something that you can actually do. I'm not going to actually composite this, but this is like an idea. What you can actually do is bring your subjects into a background just to see if it works. Now, what you would normally do is you would match the brightness of the subject to the background and also the colors. So I've added 2 levels adjustment layers and clipped them both to the layers below and just adjusted it so it kind of looks a little bit better, where the subjects is at least the brightness is closer to the way it looks. And of course you would match the shadows and everything in the image, but that's what you can do with your object selection tool. So now to the question of the day. What do you think of these new automatic selection tools? Do you like using those, or do you like using the more traditional methods of selection? Let me know in the comments below. So thanks for watching. If this video was helpful, give a like, and please consider subscribing. If you want more short and easy tutorials, see the ones above. And remember, it's never too late to learn. See you in the next video.